also our guardian.
Absolutely. For me personally, I could personally relate to it. I know you're the professional here, but from my humble observations, I feel like all of us are affected by whatever kind of parenting we receive, whether it's a negative effect or a
Facts.
positive effect. But I feel
Facts.
like all of us are. And to put that in the book, it, you hit it on the head.
Yeah. You
Absolutely. So it's an intimate room, and I did just want to redirect the room a little bit because we do have some new audience members who did just join in. So just in case, as well as if you just tuned in on the streaming, just to catch you up and let you know what we're doing here. My name is Queen. I am the host of my podcast. Heavy is the Crown. We are here with Dr. Fem Dizzle, Femi Sanya, and we are talking about his debut, book, I'm Manifesting My Queen Essence, and we're on chapter 1, so you didn't miss too much. So as I was saying, go ahead, Femi, I'm sorry.
No, no, no. You fine. You're doing great, by the way. Hey, round of
Thank you.
applause for Queen.
Not too much, y'all. It's not about me today. Thank you, y'all. No, but so I did want to acknowledge that because I do think that's important, as well as and I'm not going to do every chapter, but I do want to say about chapter 2 and 3 when you talk about those sibling rivalries and get into those relationships with your siblings and even your platonic relationships. So now we're thinking and we're talking about our childhood friendships and our relationships there. And I don't think that a lot of us, when we, get into this adulthood, we think about how imperative and influential those relationships actually are to how we act in our adult lives, right?
Oh, I mean, it's so funny how like different sibling dynamics can also impact you. Um, for example, have you ever heard of the term, let's say maybe a parentified child? Um, sometimes a lot of maybe older siblings, you see a difference in the older siblings than the younger sibling. Um, just your birth order sometimes can shape you, right? Just think about it, and that's something you have absolutely zero. Like you had no doing with that, but you know, just something that simple can shape your outlook or your perspective on life. It's funny because like I talked about in the book, I talked about like the difference between my niece, who I talked about, Madison, who is 9 going on 10, and her relationship with my daughter, who is 2. Um, and then my daughter's relationship with my other niece, um, who they're only 7 weeks apart. Like they operate like they're like twins. Like they run around. Where, with my older niece, like she takes on like this super big sister role, want to be protective, and just something because of that age gap kind of dictates sometimes, just how the type of experience they have. Now with, siblings who are maybe closer in age, sometimes they have that, oh, well, let's wear each other's clothes. We're gonna argue a lot because you guys are going through life at the same time. You're experiencing the same things. Whereas when it's someone that's older, a lot of times they're experiencing it prior to you, good or bad. A lot of times, usually bad. And the younger siblings now, they have the privilege of learning from you. And that's for example, look at like a lot of stuff that maybe I was able to avoid. I had the privilege of being able to watch my older brother and my older sister and kind of try to learn from them. And that, with them being older, that's something, that's a privilege they didn't have, right? They were learning on the fly, and you
Absolutely.
know, and sometimes, siblings resent each other. During this writing process, I did a questionnaire, and I was just able to ask, a plethora of questions to different hundreds of people, and you get experiences. I got responses where like some people felt like the way their parents treated one sibling made them kind of resent, that sibling because they felt as though one was labeled maybe the pretty one or the smart one, or all these positive things where they didn't get the same label.
Right.
So as a result, it kind of made them feel a little low about themselves, and they resented the other sibling that was getting praises and accolades, and just things like that. Like how something that maybe sometimes we don't think about in our younger age, but it's like you have no control of how your parent, treats this person or labels this person, but it still makes you feel a way, and these are things that I want people to think about in order to maybe repair some bonds with your siblings, or just at least communicate, like try to figure it out. I think that's also important.
Absolutely. I happen to be an older sibling. My brother, he's here. Shout out to my brother. He's my favorite person. But he's 3 years younger than me. So if I could speak for us from my perspective, I would say that we kind of had like a mixture of those things. Because we're 3 years apart, so it's kind of like an awkward number. Like we spend that 1 year in school together, and and leave.
Like you was a senior, you was a freshman.
Right. So I was the cool kid, and he was coming in trying to, but you go through those kinds of things. And I think what you were saying as well, like with the genders, that probably plays a different. If we were both the same gender, it probably could have been a little bit different. So that is very interesting. How would you say your platonic friendships when you're growing up could affect your relationships as an adult?
Oh, I mean, just let's take it back to middle school, high school, whatever. You just said it, and we know you was a cheerleader, right? You was.
I was like that,
Yeah,
y'all. And this didn't just start.
You
I'm
know
just
what I'm
joking.
saying? You the cool kid, right? So, I mean, let's think back to what it was like for a lot of the cool kids. Like I was not the cool kid. I don't think I've ever been a cool kid, and I'm cool with that.
Lies.
Nah, because but think about it. Look at It's a lot of peer pressure when you're a cool kid. Like you have to live up to a certain set of standards or expectations. Like I never did senior skip day. You know what I'm saying? Like as a cool kid, if you don't skip, are you really cool? Just think about it. Like so some of those things, like I shied away from it because I was like, I don't really want to do this. But if I don't do it and I'm cool, they gonna check me, or all my homeboys and homegirls, they gonna be doing this. So I'm gonna be left out. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. I empathize. But of course on the outside, people looking at you like, man, you got everything. You got all the girlfriends or all the boyfriends. You know what I'm saying? So definitely your peers during that age, they impact you, even when you're older. Yeah, I heard of the phrase keeping up with the Joneses.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Adults are impacted by their peers, right? Because if everybody's buying a car, this person got a Benz, you probably might be feeling like, oh, you want to get a Benz. I don't live my life like that, but a lot of people do. And it's not because they bad people. Sometimes they just, on the outside, they want to appear a certain way.
A costume.
Yeah. Now, and that's adults. Now think of it like teenagers or young people. Of course, we're so impacted because we want a sense of belonging. We want to feel accepted, and that's why the book is titled, if you're a journey of reflecting, healing, acceptance, and I think that's so important because it's okay to accept yourself if you're not in, right? So what? Society has its own set of expectations, but if we think about it, like I said, it's stuff that society values that if you truly assess it, is it really, the thing? But it's according to society, it is. So with this book, I just want a lot of people to be able to forgive themselves for maybe some of those choices that they did while trying to, feel accepted or part of the in crowd. Like we all go through those phases, but it's better once you are able to acknowledge it and learn from it and not keep repeating the same cycle. So nobody's perfect. Nobody is without blemish. We, like I said, we all make mistakes and we go through those times. But the important thing is we learn from them, and as we get older, we pass on that wisdom to others.
Did you graduate from Flowers or Largo?
Any,
So I'm from Largo too.
any Largonians in here? Okay, we already know.
Well, the only reason why I asked this question is because, see, that's what the cool kids did at Largo, senior skip days and stuff like that, because he said I was a cool kid. I want to clarify, I did not participate in any senior skip days. I graduated from Frederick Douglass. We didn't do those type of things.
Did you, David? Exactly.
We didn't do that at Douglass. But I want to get into this survey that you took. So for anyone who hasn't opened the book yet, Femi did or conducted a survey among some participants to attribute to information and their opinions to the questions he asked. Now, how many participants did you have in the survey?
Yeah, I can't recall the exact number because I had a lot. Thank you to everybody. I was so taken back as to individuals that was actually just receptive and open to sharing. But I had hundreds of participants that were willing to be part of this process and just answer some questions. And in the beginning, I started out with maybe like 10 questions. But as I was going through the writing process, I realized like it's so many more areas and avenues to explore. So different questions kept coming to me. I moved the survey from like an email to like a anonymous, online thing where now I'm like, I don't even want to know who it is. Just do your thing. And the survey took on a life of its own. And if it wasn't for that, honestly, I don't know what this book would be about.
I thought that was a good idea. So it is a book directly going after women specifically, even though it is a good read for men and women. What was your thought process to incorporate men as participants in the survey as well?
That's a great question. I thought it was important to incorporate the perspective of men as well. For all you guys who've read it, you see like I will pose a question as the therapist, and I will have responses from the queens, the women, and the kings, the men. And I thought it was important to incorporate that because, these so-called kings are in your lives, whether they're your sons, they're your brothers, they're your fathers, or they're your, boyfriends or husbands, or your side piece, your situationship.
Entanglement,
whatever capacity that they, they serve in. So I thought it's important for you guys to also maybe learn their side, because in this life we can't do life alone unless you're adamant about it, right? We're relational beings. And my goal for this is for women to microphone checker. It's for women to fully just understand whether it's themselves, other women, and also men. And it's those questions sometimes reflected how the men and women answer. I laugh sometimes.
I was gonna ask, did anyone say like anything too crazy? Like you were like, can't put this in the book.
Oh, I might have had one or two that I was like, man, this is too OC.
Text it to me. I want to see.
Yeah, anonymous. I might have had like one or two that I thought like this was too OC, but even some of the responses I put that in. I can think of one right now from a young lady. She was like, "Yeah, we're not even gonna mention that in the house of the Lord." But
Text it to me later.
you know, yeah, I was very taken back. Like people were very open and transparent when it came to this. So
Well, that's what you needed, you know,
oh, definitely.
to make it cohesive, and it did what it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Definitely.
So as a melanated father,
That's right.
right? And congratulations to fatherhood.
Thank you. Thank
Fairly still new to the fatherhood, right? Let's give it up
Thank
for
you,
the
thank you.
melanated brother.
Hey, shout out to all the fathers tonight.
Shout out to all the melanated fathers. And actually, speaking of melanated fathers, if you're in the room here, if you are streaming, a lot of us in the room have on our melanated fathers shirts. I had to change mine, y'all. Sorry about that. But that is Femi's nonprofit. So make sure you go in there and make sure you find out how we can donate, how you can get you some merch. And yeah, tell us a little bit about melanated fathers.
Hey, thank you for bringing that up. You know, it's just something, as you can see, book is for women. I wanted to do something for the fathers as well, just because I felt like black fathers often got a bad rap, you know, when it comes to society, when it comes to how you know we are viewed, you know. Oftentimes you hear of the negative stories, we see the negative narrative, and as you know, a young father that I'm excited about fatherhood. I love fatherhood, and I'm also surrounded by others who are the same, and they're great dads, and they're excel. I just kind of want to shed light on that, and also encourage, you know, the fathers to come, you know, the future fathers, that hey, you know, let's make this cool, you know, let's put this on a pedestal as, you know, black fathers, because we are important, no matter what, you know, what is said in the media or whatever. We important, and we also want to, you know, we want to excel in our role and assume our responsibilities. So I kind of wanted to build a community of, you know, black fathers, and kind of highlight, you know, our involved and how we, you know, excel at what we do. That was really, you know, how this, you know, came to fruition.
Absolutely. Shout out, just to reiterate and piggyback on what Femi said, shout out to all the melanated fathers. I absolutely can't stand that negative narrative about our fathers. Shout out to my melanated father. I know he's watching right now. But I wanted to ask you, as a melanated father, when it comes to spending time with your daughter, how imperative are those moments? You gave me a little look. I wanted to bring up a viral conversation.
Yeah.
Come on, sound man. Come on now. We're trying to hear. Do we need to take a pause? We need to hear what the doctor is saying.
We just gonna swing it.
We good?
We gonna,
Bet.
we gonna finesse.
So T.I. recently had a viral moment, and for the wiser people in the room, T.I. is a rapper, just to let you all know. So he had a viral moment where he said that he spends time with his daughters, and that is what he likes to call thought prevention time. Excuse my language. He knows my heart. How do you feel about that? Because I have an opinion about that statement, but as the doctor,
I mean,
therapist.
you know, it sounded like he used Kevin Samuels like language. So I think people are, focusing on that. I wouldn't say it just because of how, the optics, how it sounds, but I think underneath it all, what he's trying to convey is like, fathers, it's so important that you spend time with your daughters, like get to know them, like not just buy them things, right? Not just all these, oh, let me give my daughter a car, or let me do this. No, like it's the day to day. It's to get to know, hey, why is she sad? How she's doing in school? Let's just, go on a date. Let's go on to lunch, whatever it is. Spend time, hug them, like quality time, touch, talking to them, letting them feel comfortable. So in case they are going through something, they feel like there's an open door policy with dad where they can come to you and seek out some type of advice, right? Not like, man, I'm going through something, but I don't feel comfortable with my dad because I don't know what my father may be thinking. I don't know if my father's going to scold me or not even have that time for me. So I think underneath, he just decided to label it, quote unquote, thought prevention, because I'm guessing he's saying like a lot of, and thought is, we call it, women who are a little loose as a goose. Don't get me started. Shout out to Boosie.
Shout out to Lil Boosie.
But I'm guessing, promiscuous women, I guess,
Right.
is what, he's talking about when it comes to thoughts. So I'm guessing he's assuming that those women didn't really have fathers around to spend time with them. I'm not going to say that. I mean, I don't know. But I will say it is, when you do have, present fathers, not just physically present like you're there, but really, really present, like you're involved in their lives and know what's going on. I think it does make a positive difference in their decision making.
It makes a huge difference. I wanted to ask you about that because I thought it was hilarious and that he would use those words. He's not a wordsman. But I thought it was funny in your book. So you have, chapter 6, YOLO.
You only
And
live
see,
once.
this was college times, So YOLO, you only live once. So do you think that every woman has this promiscuous phase?
I like how you said that. A garden tooth phase. That's one of the questions that I posed in the questionnaire. I wanted to know, is it essential? And a lot of women felt like it was for them, in order for them to kind of figure things out, in order for them to know what they do want and don't want, especially regarding like intimacy, because as we know, that is a huge part of relationships. Shout out to all my lovers out here. Intimacy, we can't downplay its importance, but where do we even get that education from? A lot of us, we don't get it. A lot of people get it through trial and error. So, of course, the garden tooth phase is the so-called trial. And in that phase, there are going to probably be a lot of errors. But I kind of wanted to see, there were a few people that said, oh, nah, it's not needed.
They probably don't know when their phase was.
Some people say they just never, I mean, to each his own. Everybody, some people feel like it's not necessary. I can think of one response that, they were more like in terms of, the soul ties.
Right.
And
which is really important. But it's just like, do you know about soul ties when you're going through this experience? You know what I mean? I feel like if you have certain a certain perspective or a certain wisdom level, then
Exactly.
it may not seem,
Yeah, like
conducive. But if you're young and you're figuring out your life and YOLO, you only live once. That used to be your favorite saying back in the day, Femi.
no, don't put that on me.
It's in the book, y'all. If y'all can't remember what page it's on, but he put it in there.
I mean, I did. If you do read, look at she opening
Look,
the.
it's down there now.
I mean,
chapter 6.
In full transparency, I discussed, in the book, there were fiction and there were nonfiction encounters, and I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to decide which one you think is which.
Just to let y'all know, it's a subchapter in chapter 6. It's called "The Stallion That Got Away."
You giving away all the juice, But like I said, some things were fiction. I mean, because it is a book, some things were nonfiction.
Got to make it a little spicy.
Yeah, you got
keep the readers entertained.
Yeah, and that's something I actually struggled with in writing, because I'm like, okay, I did want to, kick all this knowledge and whatever, but I'm like, I mean, I struggle with how much spice, how much, pepper I need to put in the gumbo, So I thought I was able to balance it a little bit.
No, you did a good job. I'm just, joking. Kind of giving you a hard time a little bit.
It's cool. You're doing great.
So, with the YOLO, so you don't have an answer whether you think that women, it's necessary, if we should go through that or not?
The thing is, I do believe, like I said, because the important thing is the education, and it's you being self-aware, So the question is, how do you become self-aware? How can you become, self-aware about that aspect of your life? How do we teach, is that a conversation you sit and have with your mom? Is that a conversation that really should be taught, in school? Like, how do we teach not just young women, young men? Because young men definitely need it too, right? And a lot of times we're learning.
I was going to ask, though, is that a double standard?
Oh, no. I just said it. We need it too.
You guys don't normally get called that H word, though.
Yeah, I think men are called like dogs.
Okay.
Which is not a positive thing. But I think men's approach and how we internalize that, men are not really affected by it. And, of course, the H word definitely has more of a negative connotation.
Right.
Because of how maybe in society, if a woman is labeled that, how she will be viewed by men is like, okay, I can probably still have physical relations with her, but probably nothing, in terms of investing in her emotionally. Whereas at times with women, I feel like if a brother is labeled a dog, women will still invest in them emotionally. I think that's, where
that's interesting.
What the difference is. Future.
So we did make a joke earlier about like the entanglements and all that great stuff. However, in this chapter, you do talk about friends with benefits, situationships, as well as entanglements, right? So my personal opinion and experience, friends with benefits and things like that, that's just not a good thing for me, So, however, a lot of women in the book, they were open to that type of relationship. Are we getting out of a traditional relationship dynamic and more into modern, I guess?
I mean, I think society is just changes, right? Because there was a time where, let's say, maybe in a time period in society where, let's say, polygamy was the thing. Probably in our grandparents' generation, some of our grandfathers probably had maybe multiple wives or whatever. And then, of course, like our parents' generation probably learned from that and like, were able to look at the consequences or just the maybe some of the problems that that came as a result of that, and was like, maybe monogamy is, maybe we should do this
A little
monogamy,
safer.
a little safer. But did it really change? I mean, some people, there's still infidelity. There's like side families. Some people got half siblings, and all those things. Which means something is happening within that monogamous dynamic, right? And then our generation, I think some people are looking at that and saying, "Man, what's really going on?" I think, and then also that we are probably getting married and a little later because we're more educated and we're more career focused than maybe our parents' generation, right? So with that, before we get to that stage when we're doing all this education and career stuff, you still have those normal human feelings to to whoever you're attracted to. So what are you doing between that time before you commit? And I think that's where the quote unquote friends with benefits and all these different types of relationships came about. And not only that, within the book I discussed the influence of like technology and like social media, like things that the other generations didn't have, because now I can be here in PG County and be talking to somebody in Dubai. Right. Like how?
Got to get your frequent flyer miles up, baby.
UK, you name it. And you got FaceTime, WhatsApp. Like you're looking at them and you can begin to text them and form different relationships. Whereas, probably our parents, if you in Baltimore, 9 times out of 10, the person you're going to be dealing with is also in Baltimore.
Right.
So that's, all these things have really like threw a wrench into what is a norm for our generation.
After you touched on the different kinds of relationships, the friends with benefits, and the different relationships in that YOLO lifestyle, you also posed the question that I thought was really interesting. So you asked a woman if she was practicing self-respect. Is there a reason why you asked her that in this section of the book, Dr. Femi?
I don't recall. I would have to open that. In terms of self-respect, I wanted to kind of gain some insight into what women, felt that looked like, because, again, I want everybody to personalize this and make this about themselves. So it's not about living according to somebody else's standards, but your standards. So what are your own standards? What does respect look like for you? Because if we're being transparent, when it comes, and I discussed that, like some of the cycles that transpire within the entanglements and situationships and friends with benefits. No, look, August Alsina, you know what I'm saying?
Exhibit A.
My man was out there, he was crying. It's like there's, of course, initially, probably things were good, but 9 times out of 10, it seems like things often just end bad within a lot of those dynamics, and it can even be a little messy. So I kind of just wanted to gain insight in terms of what you define as maybe, what respect or self-love looks like to you, and how you feel like you're exuding that in your day-to-day life by the choices choices you're making that impacts your life?
As a queen myself, I personally thought that it was a great question. And I personally, on top of that, I love the placement of the question because if I'm a grown woman and I'm saying, or I'm a woman and I'm saying, well, I want to be in this situationship. I'm in this, I subscribe to this entanglement or friends with benefits. I think that it is a valid question to ask if you feel like you're respecting yourself. I feel like sometimes, just speaking from a woman's perspective, that we make moves sometimes that kind of just feel right at that moment, but we don't actually dig deep and think as to why we're doing it and ask ourselves, are we respecting ourselves when we're involving ourselves in this type of relationship? So I thought that it was a good question, may
Thank,
make some people feel uncomfortable.
thank you. And yeah, it's okay to feel uncomfortable. Um, you know, s- sometimes, a lot of times, change does not happen in that comfort zone. So being uncomfortable is not a bad thing because it forces you to self-reflect. Um, Again, a journey of reflecting. So that's the aim that I wanted for the book.
Absolutely. So after we, live in our YOLO life, we have some promiscuous times, then let's get into this checklist, right? So it seems that a lot of us women, we go through this young life, we go to school, we do these things, whatever that journey entails. And then we get to this point, a lot of us, and we're like, I think I might want to settle down now. I think I might want to give me a man, a serious situation. And yeah, like we have that issue, and then we have these lists and these standards that a lot of us are ridiculed by. Some of us, y'all know our standards are ridiculous, but there are a portion of us, where we have standards, and I think that we definitely should be able to. You brought up Kevin Samuels a little bit earlier,
Oh Lord,
and
brother Kevin.
yes, and let's talk about these standards in the list before we get into Kevin. We're gonna talk about them. I'm manifesting my queen essence
Yeah,
list.
yeah. So, of course, in the book, like you mentioned, I think is it chapter 9.
Chapter
I
9.
can't keep up. You know, so I wanted to. I wrote a chapter called the checklist, and I just came up with different lists. Not saying this has to be your list. It's just random because these are some of the things that I've heard, women include in their list. Um, I wrote it because I think it's important to kind of have standards. It's important to kind of know what you want. It's important to first know yourself. Because, once you know yourself, then you know what you want and maybe what you don't want. In there, we also went on to talk about like non-negotiables, right? Because in knowing what you want, you're probably not gonna get everything in an individual that you want. You guys have maybe jobs or careers or whatever. You probably don't get everything that you want in those places, but you still do it and you cashing in, right? Every week, every 2 weeks, whatever. And it's the same as people because we're not perfect, but that's where your non-negotiables come in this imperfect, you know, person that's not perfect. But what is it that's like your non-negotiable that you're like, hey, you stink. I can't do stinky Pete. Or
Funkified.
yeah, you whatever. You know, we don't share the same faith. Uh, you name it, right?
Lack of ambition.
Lack of ambition. Some people.
Your height, I guess, apparently. That was in the book.
I talked about that in the book, right? And also in making those lists, I wanted you to also assess your list, and ask yourself, where where did this come from? Like, how did I make this a list? Like in the book, I discuss like myself in the past, I think Xing out someone based on their height.
Right.
Because
A taller young lady.
yeah, a taller stallion.
A stout
You know, a Meg the
stallion.
Yeah, you know, and I wrote that in there because I said, okay, is this how important should height be? Not saying you shouldn't have a preference, but sometimes we do have to assess ourselves and say, okay, where does this come from? Does this stem from my own personal insecurity? Does this stem from maybe how I don't want to be perceived by my peers? You know, when we step out, you know, on the red carpet, but you shorter than your woman, you know, how important is that, right, in the grand scheme of things? If you say it's important, then it's important to you. But it's like, you know, if we're being honest, you know, a lot of those things shouldn't be that important because, you know, if you feel like someone has those intangibles, those qualities that maybe you need, then it's like, hey, if they 5 foot, as you know, as you women, y'all hate the short brothers. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, yeah, that brother's short, you know, but that
But if he can compensate, you know.
So I kind of just wanted, you know, people to ask themselves that. But again, at the end of the day, it's about you.
Absolutely. So what is Dr. Femi's 5 non-negotiables
Or like my own person.
personally?
You know, I got 5. What if I only got 2 or 3?
Let's go with, we'll try 5.
Okay, let me see. Well, you definitely can't stink. You know.
Cleanliness is next to godliness.
Say it again. So that's one. Let me see. You know, I'm a man of faith. You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
So you gotta share my faith.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, shoot. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Come on, Doc.
I mean, I didn't know you was gonna ask me this, so you know, you put me on
It's the shock. It's the shock value.
Yeah, you doing a great job. Hey, round of applause for Queen, man. She you know, I'm really trying to think.
I'm gonna come back to that question. Don't
Yeah.
think I'm gonna forget.
Yeah, please do.
I ain't forget about you either in the front with the book open. She said she's shy. Okay, so I did want to redirect the room again. We did have a handful of melanated people walk in. Welcome. Just to let you know, my name is Queen. Hi. My name is Queen. I do host my podcast, Heavy is the Crown. Take your phone out right now. Go to Instagram, follow me, all that good stuff. And I am here with Dr. Femi. We are talking about I am manifesting my queen essence. To anyone who just started streaming in, get into it. Welcome. And yeah, we were talking about non-negotiables. So I definitely have my non-negotiables.
Are they 5?
5.
Okay. What are your 5 non-negotiables?
Okay, so ambitious.
So the brother has to
Have some sort of ambition.
How do you judge
Ambition.
or how do you quantify ambition? Is there a scale?
There is.
Okay.
Now, if he has
You gotta have a job.
preferably some type of income coming in, just income, you know.
Okay.
But, you know, as long as I can see that he wants more than where he is in life, you know. Like if he got mismatched socks on, I want to see him go to the laundromat and make sure he get him a pair of matching socks. That's the type of ambition I want. Any kind, like I just want to see him getting better in life. It don't have to be, you know, on no grand scheme of things.
Is there a point that brother can reach and stop? Like, you good.
Death.
Oh.
Can I get an amen? Thank you. So.
Hey, fellas, I got y'all back.
Alrighty.
Okay.
So.
What's number 2?
So number 2, no multiple families, please.
no side.
Like no baby mamas. I was trying not to say it in that way, but no
Okay.
baby mamas. One negotiable, but two
Okay.
non-negotiable.
Okay.
Okay. I want a man who he has a faith, but I don't want anyone who's like overly
Too
just
faith,
too over.
too spiritual.
Just I don't know if you could be
T-
too spiritual or too faithful. I don't even know if I like
TD
that word, but
Jakes.
just I don't want it to be the conversation 24/7.
What if he the pastor?
The pastor can't be my man.
Okay.
Like he can't. I wouldn't even sign up for him.
What if he's a deacon or an elder?
Negotiable.
Okay. All right. So we need two more.
I wrote these down. Hold on. Okay. And he needs to be a supporter, so to be able to motivate me.
So you got to be subscribed to Heavy is the Crown.
Hello. On Apple, Spotify, and on iHeartRadio for all of y'all out here, okay? And the last thing I would say is he needs to be an alpha male in some type of way. My personality is a little strong. I don't want him to be too.
So you an alpha woman.
I think I have my moments.
So can there be two alphas?
That's when I turn mine off.
So you become
Or down. We're working on the off.
I mean, I'm trying to learn here. So you become a beta, or is it just two alphas?
No. I have to become a beta.
Okay.
Yeah.
What y'all think, audience?
That's something that I've been learning as I've been manifesting.
Okay. Okay.
Have y'all been working on you all's non-negotiables? I hear some claps. Y'all better start working on these non-negotiables. I don't have no ring, and this thing right here is my guide. So, So, yeah. So, do you have like a list of non-negotiables that you think that women should include? Because a lot of the times we include things that are just not even significant.
You got to be balling.
The
I'm
ballers.
saying a lot of times you include that.
Like with the young man Kevin Samuels, with the young lady who was on his
the six figures.
because she made six figures and she said she would like to have a spouse or a partner who makes six figures as well, which I didn't see anything wrong with that standard.
I didn't either, and plus maybe it's their locations or who this. Cause I see a lot of people. I don't view six figures as this thing on a pedestal because
Same.
a lot of people I'm surrounded by, I feel like they make six figures. So,
And I mean, let's be honest. There's a difference between $100,000 and $600,000, right?
And that was my point. My point is like, I do IT and make $100K than to be a football player and make $900K or whatever. So there's levels to six figures. So maybe not to get off subject, but if she wanted six figures, 100K, all right. But if she demanding every brother to make 900, now that's a specialist, So
First of all, she probably don't want nobody melanated either, because it ain't a lot.
I mean, we there too, but it's like
it ain't a lot of us up there. It ain't our fault.
I think we up there. I don't know the percentage, but I'm saying if
900,000.
If you desire someone,
We sending that to London's DM. We need the 900,000 salary.
If you desire that, of course your pool
Yeah.
is is now shrunk to a certain thing. So for me, I don't think it's nothing wrong to desire quote unquote six figures, but just know there's levels to six figures.
I agree.
So, but in terms of what women should want, I mean, I just feel like, there should be like basics, like respect, right? You shouldn't be in any situation where you feel like you're being disrespected, and that happens. So I think we have to take pride in who we are as people and what we have to offer, what you guys are bringing in, because you're not coming in here like hey, this person is your master, so therefore they can walk all over you. I mean, you're offering something in this equation as well. So I think, being with somebody that respects you, that should be a norm. Of course, we discussed, earlier we discussed different relationship dynamics. There should be that understanding and openness where, hey, we're in a monogamous relationship,
Right.
or you guys are in an open relationship. Whatever it is, you guys are on the same page, and whoever you're dealing with should be acting according to what you guys have decided to enter into. So if you're in a marriage, man, you shouldn't be in a marriage that is, full of constant infidelity. I mean, for me at least. But everybody, to each his own. Do your thing. Read the book. You know what I'm saying? And I think also, I believe there should be trust. I think there should be trust. There are lots and lots of relationship without trust, and I think it kind of like leads to other negative consequences within the relationship. When you don't have the trust, it can cause so many problems to come in the future. And sometimes you wonder, like, man, where did this come from? This person changed or whatever, and you have to like go retrace your steps. And if there was that lack of trust, you know, this, this person, it can bring the worst out of, that dynamic. In the book, I also talked a lot about like abusive dynamics, whether it's like domestic abuse or like sexual abuse and things of that nature. I think it's important to study someone's traits, how not only they treat you, because I can be nice to you and wine and dine you, but I think it's important to also assess how I treat my friends, my family, or even strangers. Like, why is it okay that this person is constantly yelling at, strangers or, whatever? Like that, to me, that's something to observe, because that is also their character. Like, this person, when they don't value someone, they truly don't value them, and they will treat them anyhow. But it could be a time where that individual may stop valuing you like that. So how is he going to treat you? And I think sometimes when we're in this stage of a state of bliss within our relationship, we just ignore all the signs. Like, man,
that honeymoon phase,
that
right?
Honeymoon, man.
And compatibility, right?
Oh yeah, I talked about compatibility in the book as well. I think it's important to be compatible with. And there's different types of compatibility, right? There's compatibility when it comes to like maybe moral values.
Right.
There's being compatible in terms of on the intimate side of things.
Hobbies.
Things like that, and those help. It really helps those two people to just get along or be on the same page a lot of times. So discuss like friendship and how having like a friendship foundation within a relationship helps. Not saying it's that's the only thing you need, but I think a lot of times it does help when it comes to communication, because as friends, there's a level of like there's a level of understanding that we have with our friends. There's a level of patience we have with our friends. So even when arguing, like, friends, we deal with each other differently than, a lot of the couples that maybe they don't have that. It's like, oh, man, I'm finna just make my point and be right. I'm not caring how I'm addressing you because I'm in my feelings. But sometimes when we friends, I didn't say all the time, but sometimes, I think about that friendship that we have. I think about the history that we
Right.
established this, and even though in this moment we're going through this back and forth, I'm not looking at you just based on this moment. I'm able to draw on who you are at your core in that period of friendship that we've established. So
I thought it was interesting when you spoke about compatibility in your book, because a lot of the times when we think about being compatible with someone, we're like, oh, they like to meditate, they like yoga, I like yoga too, they like fried chicken and ranch, I like ranch and fried chicken too.
so what
Small things,
what do
but
you think about or maybe after reading the book when you think about compatibility?
yeah, so I think that there are things in conversations that need to be had before getting in serious relationships or making certain moves in these relationships. So yes, we may like to eat out together. We may like to travel or have the same hobbies. But how do we think about disciplining children? Do we want to have children? How do we want to educate our children? Things of that nature. And I think that a lot of people, they come as one, they have children with other people, and they've yet to have those kind of conversations before they make those moves.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's funny that you say that because, of course, I do couples counseling as well, and that's something that that's been a theme with a lot of couples in terms of like parenting, and it causes a strain between the couple, between a husband and a wife, because it's like we're like so on two different ends of the spectrum when it comes to how we want to raise our children, the type of values we want to impart on them, or different things like that. And it's like now this just brings up a whole new set of issues because now you're like, I can't even raise my child how I want to, then you start taking it out on each other. But it's so important that we sit down and get to know each other. We ask these difficult questions about each other, and not just look at, oh man, you fine, I'm fine. Like you said, we both love sports,
Right.
whatever, because that's fine and dandy, but that is not gonna like sustain you. But if you are on two different ends of the spectrum, it's not saying it can't work. If you are two understanding people who are committed to each other, then talk about a compromise. Talk about why it's important for you to that you have these beliefs. Like, actually take the time to try to understand that person. Don't be dismissive. You never know. You can learn something. You may be able to learn from one another, but sit down and try to come to a place of understanding, because that's also is telling about that person. This person is willing to understand. They want to understand me, and vice versa. That's a good trait to have when you're in a relationship. But if somebody has just dismissed you, that's something to observe.
Absolutely. And not to say, just to clarify, not to say that we have these conversations and then we get into these relationships, we get married or we have this child, we start the family. Not to say that we're not going to change our feelings or where we came from or how we thought at that time, because we change all the time, right? 5 years ago, I had a plan, I had my bed sitting on one corner of the room. Now, I prefer it somewhere else. But I think that it's a good thing to start off with that solid connection. So when it changes, you'll be like, okay, wasn't really expecting this, but you have something to go off of. So let's get to this happy ending.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get a ring, y'all. I said, ooh, manifesting my queen essence.
And
Steve Harvey who?
And audience, do you guys have questions? We gonna get to y'all. Y'all got
Absolutely.
questions?
Hold on, let me finish my last part now.
I know.
Oh, we'll open up the floor for questions.
Yeah, I mean, after we done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to this happy ending because, as I told y'all, I'm trying to get me a ring. So after we had these conversations with our significant or with our partner and all these great things, what do we do when things do start to change though? We've had these conversations. We got married, we have the house, we started the family, and now I said that I didn't mind my children going to public school, but now I want to homeschool my kid. How do we handle that?
Okay. So you're saying your partner wants public school and you don't.
Just as an example, yep.
Okay. I mean, therapy would be good because again, why does he want public school? Why is he so adamant? Why is he not maybe open? And what made you change it? Is there something you saw? Is there a statistic that maybe you fell upon that you're like, man, homeschool might be, or is it coronavirus that you like, man, this COVID-19, I don't trust, this. Like, what is it that is so dear to you that made you pivot the way you did? And if you guys feel like maybe, okay, between ourselves, we're having a difficult time kind of, reaching a consensus or a stamped decision, maybe having that outside party to maybe help give you guys a different perspective, maybe essential resource for you guys to utilize.
Speaking of therapy and couples therapy, are you accepting new clients at the moment?
I mean, email me.
Well, everyone's streaming.
Email.
If you're streaming in right now, you may need some therapeutic services. Dr. Femi is your guy, and everyone else in here. So, with marriage, I often pose this question to people, and it ruffles people's feathers. I mean it, from a genuine place, a genuine question. So, I often ask the question, what is the benefit of marriage? And emphasis heavy on the benefit of marriage, from your opinion.
I mean, it depends what you want. What do you desire in a relationship or companion or marriage? Like, when you go into it, are you going into it because you feel like you want certain benefits? And if so, what are those benefits? Is it that you feel like, okay, I make six figures, I make 100K, but after this bill, this mortgage, this, that, I only got this much.
Right.
But if I have a partner and we doing this together, now that lightens my load a little bit. And then you ask yourself, well, can I get that without marriage? Can I get that with a boyfriend? Hey, that's up to you, right? And not just that, it can be the fact that, hey, you want to have children with somebody and raise them in the same house, and also not only that, but join your family with theirs. Because, of course, you can have children and live with a guy and not be married, right? However, it's when you get married, you're also not just being a part of, you're kind of being a part of, you're joining both families. It's so many different things that we can consider benefits or pros, but it's up to that individual if they value that, right? Because you may be like, not really, I don't care about that. So for you, it's not gonna be a benefit. But of course, it's something that we also do that's kind of, tradition and different things like that. If you're a person of faith, then it's like, okay, I want to get married because, the teachings that I follow instruct me that having, sexual intercourse outside of this union is a sin, right? So again, it goes back to who you are as a person and what you value. That's what you start off with. Then you can be like, okay, is marriage really something that's beneficial for me? And I think in 2020, almost 2021, some people are saying, no, this is not beneficial for them. And it's an individual thing.
what prompted me to ask that question is in your book you discuss in this chapter about the happy right it not being marriage not being for everyone, but more so I feel like a lot of people get married for love. And so in your book, you speak about like the difference between love or what's more important to you in your relationship, like love or respect, things of that manner. So could you speak to the difference between a love-based relationship and then a relationship that's not necessarily based on love?
Yeah, I mean, I think um, some people, some people, don't, I mean, different people marry for different reasons. Some people just marry because they're like, man, I didn't grow up in this. I just want somebody to do life with. Um, but there's so much things that come with marriage that once you then get into it, you're like, man, this is real, real. I I wasn't expecting this. So I definitely tell people, honestly, take your time to get to know, your individual, and also take those premarital counseling sessions seriously. But definitely, when you get married, I think it's important to marry that person for who they are. Like go into it thinking like this is who I'm marrying. Yeah, this person is showing me potential to be here, but I'm marrying this person because people don't always reach that so-called potential that see in them. Like, is that going to change how you view them? Is that going to change your love? Are you no longer going to be as enthusiastic about this so-called marriage, right? Um, but, so that's one thing I will say when it comes to, marriage and getting to know a person. But also, oops, my bad. I mean, I just think it's important for you to truly, honestly, like get to know, each other's reasons. Like some people marry for financial security. It's like so if I get on hard times, is this gonna impact what we have, or are we gonna, be committed to, working together to, figuring this thing out, So I hope I'm answering your questions.
You are.
Because there is no one set answer because there's so many predicaments, there's so many different things that can transpire or so many different reasons. Uh, like your reason can be different if then the 100th, you can ask 100 women or men and they may have different reasons based on their own life experiences, which is why in the book I included so many different types of predicaments and life experiences. And even in reviewing that, after I finished, I was like, dang, I didn't even put this because I couldn't do it all because life has so many different things. Like we come from different cultures, different backgrounds, different countries, different homes, and our experiences from those cultures or homes can even impact or shape, our feelings about marriage. It can be like, man, my mother was this, so because of that, this is what I'm looking for in a marriage.
Right.
So you just never know.
And like you said, words are very subjective, right? Because everyone looks at love differently. So how what they call love languages, so the way that people accept love and even show love can be different depending on who we're, speaking to.
Right.
But what's next after I'm manifesting my queen essence? Because you gave us women a lot of, advice and pointers, but I think the kings still in need of some help.
Hey, where the kings at? Make some noise. I've been getting a lot of that. And if y'all read the book, if y'all got to the end, anybody in here got to the end? Okay, you see that in the end, I hinted at what was next, and I said, you know, ladies, I got your backs. You know, the fellas, y'all got part two. You know, so we working on that. My hope and my prayer is that it's not gonna take me another 7 years, because that means y'all
It won't
looking
this
at
time.
y'all looking at 2017, 2027. You know, I'm hoping not. You know, but yeah, I'm working. I've been brainstorming. I've been thinking, and also I want to do a book. Just in this process, I want to do a book for couples. You know.
I had that jotted on my little index card.
Yeah, that's
I think that'd be a really good idea.
yeah. I've been working on that as well. Shout out to my mom. She got like 2 books.
That's what I was just gonna say. Round of applause.
You know, she been working, so she's been motivating me to really get on my job, because I did this and I was like, I can rest. It's 7 years.
She on to her next thing.
She on like book 3 already. So I'm like, you know, I got to get on it, but I'm still enjoying this process.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm letting it sizzle my spirit. But definitely, fellas, you know, we gonna have a conversation. So be on the lookout.
So are you know, you giving away some merch tonight? Are you know,
Yeah.
signing some books? What's
Yeah,
going on?
We doing all that. I have some melanated father's gear, you know, that I want to give out. Also, my mom, we talked about, she wrote a book. She would like to give out, what, you said 10 copies? 10 copies, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So are we going to do that about
Yeah, I think that we should.
right now?
The road to righteous living, right? Can we do like a little, you know, just toss me one to the side. Just tell them you're going to give away 9 and you give me the 10th one.
Okay.
You want to get into some questions first?
Sure. Anybody in the audience, anybody got some questions?
Don't be shy now.
Okay. My man.
Oh, let me do this. Excuse me. Let me do my thing. All right now.
Okay, so I wanted to propose a question to all the women in here, and I wanted you to start it off. What do you feel like defines your queen, and then if there's anything that you want to incorporate to that queendom going into the new year, what would that be?
Well, that's a very good question, Danon. Well, I would say that my queendom, my queen essence would be actually acknowledging my traumas and my background, my upbringing. Really just being honest with myself. That was a very difficult thing for me to do. So that has been a part of my manifestation of my queendom, and moving forward, just to continue being honest with myself and taking the steps to consciously fix those things. Because I think a lot of times we can say, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to have this habit, I'm not, but we don't consciously do the work. So that'll be what I'm doing moving forward.
That's dope.
Okay, well, I want to say that what she said about being honest with yourself is like a major factor, because I know that I also had like my moment of reflection a few years ago where I was thinking like I'm saying that I want one thing, however, I'm not acting like that's what I'm aiming for. So pretty much just making sure that I'm honest with myself, that I'm reflecting, actually learning from my situations rather than just going through them and then making the same mistake or doing the same thing. Also, I mean, Christianity for me, I think that that's a major part. Just like engulfing in the Bible and remembering that I'm also a child of a king, and demanding that type of respect from friends and loved ones and anyone surrounding me.
I had nothing to say.
Oh,
I didn't
it's not for everybody.
Anyone else want to pose a question? Here you are.
Thank you so very much, and that was very insightful. You mentioned things that I think opens my eyes a little bit. You said traditionally, our grandparents, they were involved or immersed in polygamous relationship, and then our generation were in the monogamous relationship, and now we are morphing into your generation that will be going into God knows what. But I want to take us back to another thing that you did mention, which is everybody has different background, upbringing, requirements, list that they need to look at. But right from the beginning of the world, for those who are Christians, and I understand that in this country, not everybody, even though we call this a Christian nation, not everybody is a Christian. But the Bible tells us in the book of Genesis, and I'm very sure that you are aware of that, God created man and woman. He asked them to go and reproduce themselves and populate the land and prosper and have dominion. But if that's what our, the faith tells us to do, where do you see marriage 20 years from now? Especially in the light of this new generation that you guys are, and you are looking at things from different perspectives. I quite really appreciate the breakdown of our grandparents, your grandparents, us, your parents, and then you, and then now think in terms of your own child. Do you see your daughter getting married 20 years from now? Or not? Or is it going to be, seriously, if you look at statistics, the divorce rate now is much higher than the marriage rate. And it's because people are getting married for the wrong reasons. And they didn't plan it well. They didn't go through this checklist. They didn't cross and do all these things. But I'm afraid that the next generation may not see marriage as important.
Yeah.
And I don't know, where you stand on that one.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think as individuals, it's important that we, of course, try to model. That's why I think it's so important for us to model those things. I think if if your child sees that, then they're gonna view this as okay, not 100% of course, but 9 times out of 10 or whatever percentage, there's a high likelihood that they're like, okay, I see positive aspects within this, so I'm gonna desire this. But as a whole, yeah, I think we're just in a day and age where I would say maybe our parents' generation, especially Africans, right? There's more of a commitment where I made a decision and I'm going to stick to it type of approach. Where I think now this generation is like, we're so focused on feelings. Like we know, hey, I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. I'm not content. And if I'm not, what are the alternative solutions? And I think, sometimes maybe the previous generation, they didn't really focus on feelings. You focus more so, hey, this is my family. No matter what, I'm going to just stick this out. I'm going to raise my children. I'm going to be committed to my husband or my wife or whatever. Mostly women being committed to their husbands, if we're being honest. But nowadays, I think, there's been a shift where it's like, I want to be committed, but for how long can I continue to deal with unhappiness or, not feeling satisfied or whatever? So that's what we have. That's a very uncomfortable conversation to have. But that's a real truth that I don't think probably just started with our generation. I think that has probably existed, I mean, since Sarah and Haggai, or, even before that. But now I think with just how far the world has gone with technology, and even I talked about that with, now you can go on your IG and look, you have relationship goals. Now you looking at yourself like, man, we don't do this. I want to do this. So now you're examining your own relationship, and I think that's something, previous generations didn't have. But in terms of my daughter, my goal, my prayer for her is for her to, have the same or similar values that I have. Is for her to view marriage as something positive, and taking her time to get to know who was created for her, so that maybe she can avoid certain pitfalls. But definitely is for her to know, like, marriage is not what's so-called bad, or it's sometimes our approach to marriage or our lack of preparation prior to getting into marriage. And it's like, now we want to label marriage as the bad thing, but sometimes it's our choices, our decision making prior or when we even got in there, that kind of tainted the marriage, if that makes any sense. Thank you. Round of applause for that wonderful question.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Because everywhere I am, I have to put God first. So, and I know every one of us, whether we are Christian or other religion, we believe in God. So, my question is, I'm trying to address one of the preferences that our sister Queen said. One of her preferences was that she doesn't want anybody with, all about God, God, God. So
I didn't say that. I didn't say exactly that.
So, and I just want us to, just think back to ask ourselves, who is the creator of relationship? Who creates relationship? And if we all are going to, be honest with ourselves, we know that God created relationship. He was the one that first, that gave Eve to Adam. That was the first, marriage we know about. And if God created it, it means He's the manufacturer of marriages. And I believe because people are not following the manufacturer's instruction, that's why marriages are not working. If we, like this microphone has instruction, somebody manufactured it. If we do not abide by the instruction of the manufacturer, chances are that the microphone will not work, or if it works, it will work for some time and pack up. So, and I believe because we are not, really, going by the instruction of God, that's why we have a lot of all these problems in our marriages these days. And that is probably what is going to, give rise to that question our mother posed, that maybe in 20 years, chances are our children are not going to be getting married. They won't even have reason for getting married any longer. But if we are able to reverse back, like my sister here said, what if you get married to a man, and along the line, the man, God got hold of that man, and now he wants to work for God. He wants to live for God. Do you want to leave him because of that? Is that,
Oh,
you know,
Lord.
do you want to leave him because of that?
I wouldn't leave him because of that. Oh my goodness. You're making me sound like a demon here.
No, 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 no. I mean, it's not you alone. That is
Oh
so.
my God.
It's not you alone. That is so general. So
No.
the children of nowadays, you know, you tell them, say, they can't marry a pastor. They can't marry that. They can't. No, because we are the one having preferences instead of following God preferences. God is the manufacturer. He is supposed to be the one that has the preference that we follow, not us. We are doing it backward. That's why we are having a lot of all these, problems, going on. In the days of our mothers and our, because, the world was not like this. Not all this encroachment that has entered into the world. They are able to, follow the pattern of God. That's why they had what they had. And once we deviate from the manufacturer's instructions, we're not going to get the right thing. And I just, that's the question I pose to you, that if your man decides to, if God gets hold of him in the long run, and then what will you do?
Well, that's when I'm gonna have to compromise, because that's when we already had the conversations with the compatibility and all that stuff. That's gonna be a situation where I'm like, dang, I didn't know you wanted to be a preacher. But then, but if he's my man, I'm be like, preach on, preacher. But before that, I don't think that I would be compatible. But when I said that I didn't want to be with someone who's overly religious, I'm not even just saying like Christianity or even just religion. Anyone who's like overly about meditating and just over the top about everything when it comes to that, that's what I meant by that. Of course, I love God. All do. Praises. But I just meant, I don't want all of our conversations to be about, the people that come knock on your door in the morning. I don't want to do that. And that's what I meant. Okay. But of course, I want to, of course, all praises due. Anyone else want to have a question? Ask a question? Anyone in the back? Everyone's good? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, my love.
Don't ask a wild question. Oh, I can't hear. Is it on? I love God. Do you love God?
Yeah, I just want to say you did good. I didn't even know. I've had some therapy session with you, one or two. But I really enjoyed this talk. It was very eye opening.
Thank you, sister.
Yeah, it was very good.
Thank you.
I respect your therapy skills. Okay. So
that's my sister, by the way.
yeah. So I guess my question is, like I know Mom was saying, like I felt like I married someone that God. It's not real.
I can't. Oh.
I felt like I married someone that I felt like it was God that.
You want to take your mic
I'll
off?
take my mic. I felt like I married someone that I felt that God ordained. Now, is it that God ordained it? I don't know, but I think God did. But I do feel that even if God ordained someone for you, you're still gonna have issues
Of course.
that you have to walk through. And I think one thing that I've learned is that I think the reason why a lot of people divorce is because they think that marriage is gonna be every day happy. You're gonna have bumps, and you're gonna have days where you're like, man, I don't know if I still want to be married. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, you're like, I want to be with this person. We might have issues just like any relationship, even a mom and a daughter, or a father and a son, or a brother and a sister. You have quarrels every now and then. You don't have perfect relationships. So
Facts.
I even think, if God ordains your marriage, you're gonna have days, you're gonna have issues, you're gonna have things that come up. And so I just want to tell people that, people should not base, like you were saying, marriage. Everybody now is like, if I'm not happy, I don't want to be in this marriage. I think sometimes you just have to push through that. Your happiness might be 2 months away, but if you don't push through those days where you're not happy, you're not going to get to the other side where you are happy. So I think for me, I look at marriage. I still have like the old mentality that I'm in this marriage for the long haul, good or bad. I'm gonna fight for my marriage and I'm gonna fight for this relationship because I truly believe in it. And I think a lot of people should believe in their marriage. Or if you're getting into a marriage, you want to make sure that your state of mind is that I'm going into this, and unless this person is going to try to kill me, I'm going to fight for this marriage, and I'm going to make sure that I am not a statistic. So that's how I see marriage. But I guess my question is about sexual education. You were saying that, a lot of the women that did the
Deceptive, yeah.
right? They all went through. I don't know. I don't want to quote it wrong. They all went through
A lot of
hoish phase. Is that necessary?
garden too.
To go through a hoish phase, to have good intimate relationship in your marriage, or without you going through a hoish phase, what's a way that you could get to that phase where
Great question.
sexual intimacy is like on point?
Great question.
Yeah.
Like you wanna.
So how you get the practice, but
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about earlier, right? Where do you gain that experience from? Is it through teaching? Is it in the school? Like, how are you gonna kind of learn that and still, be and still, get the knowledge and the insight that you need, but not, wild out too much like you were alluding to, right? I mean, hey, it depends also because it's like, what is stopping you? I mean, let's think about this. When you go through this phase, you're, indulging with different partners, right? And you're probably learning different things, from these, because everybody's skill level is probably different. If you play Madden, different players got different ratings. So they might open your eyes to, something that, man, I didn't know I might like that. But if you're a person who's married, what is stopping you guys from exploring different things? You married, it's just y'all two. What is stopping you guys from trying out different things and not just sticking to what it is that's maybe your go-to or what you're comfortable with? I think a lot of times we stay in our comfort zone. But for those who are yet to marry and are trying to maybe not go 200 miles per hour in the phase, but dibble and dabble, it's up to you first and foremost to ask yourself, am I comfortable with this? If your answer is yes, okay, how can I do this safely? Do your thug dizzle. I'm not here to judge you, but like Mom Dukes and our other mom said, in terms of the faith, you going back to the manufacturer. If you're a person of faith and you're like, look here, I'm trying to be a Proverbs 31 woman, but I'm still trying to get my freak on. How can I do both? Hey, am I talking or am I talking? Because these are
Preach
real.
on, preacher.
These are real things, right? You might have to DM TD Jakes for how you do that, because I mean that's an oxymoron in when it comes to that. Or you be like, hey, I'm a sinner. I'm probably not gonna be perfect, but pray to God to, maybe purge some of them desires or whatever. But it's like, hey, practice is gonna make perfect, especially if you're dealing with. It depends on your spouse too, right? If your spouse is not this super experienced brother that's been on his, Lexington Steel, then you probably don't have much to worry about because this brother is a novice as well. But if you're dealing with somebody that's been 10 years in the game or 15 or whatsoever, and you a novice, then this brother might have had 10, 15, 20, or you never know, right? So he now is comparing you to all those experiences. Like, man, I mean, yeah, she cool, but not like Stephanie, not like Jasmine, or and now he's missing, some of those things. So that may cause some issues in that realm. Not saying he doesn't love you, not saying he doesn't adore you, but it's like, man, I just wish I can build a bear and add some of this to this. And I'm sure, women go through that as well. Like, damn, this brother just not hitting the spot. Like, what? Or- No. I mean, and the only way to to prevent not comparing is not to have, you know, c- I mean, not saying because you're gonna compare, but at least you're gonna be aware. You don't have to succumb to what you see or what you notice. I can be like, yeah, this ain't the best, but I'm good where I'm at. But you know, for the most part, the likelihood does increase as to you maybe comparing. But the thing is, sometimes it also depends because just because you've had other partners don't mean your current partner is not gonna satisfy you. Yeah, to what you said, Diane. Yeah, there are. I do believe, with certain, encounters, there you do have that soul tie where it's like it's hard for you to shake this person. I don't know what causes it. That's not my expertise. But I do acknowledge that that happens, and it can be detrimental to your life. Oh, you in a groove. You need a mic? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Adam and Eve. Like premarital counseling? Mm-hmm. We on 1,000. Okay. I mean, you might have to go do some Kama Sutra.
We may you get the sexual counselor
I,
up in there.
I mean, I specialize couples counseling, not sex counseling, but I do have some colleagues that specialize in that. But again, I know we are in the church, but again, that is real, and we can't dismiss that because I get a lot of couples that you know that they have those challenges or they have issues in that realm when it comes to sexual intimacy. But yeah, and the thing is, through time, people's drive also change, right? Some people experience an increase, some a decrease. I think it was a YouTube couple who Duval and Kadeem. Yeah, that was a big thing. for them where she's like, her sex drive it dipped. They've been together for over 10 years, several kids, and he's still on the go. So how do you deal with that? And then, of course, you have a job. You know, you tired. I understand that. You know, you guys are gonna have to come to an understanding. You're gonna sometimes you have to even put it on your schedule. I know that sounds boring to a lot of young people, but once you get there, you understand, especially when, you know, you're not as compatible in that. We talked about compatibility. This is one arena. Like some people, you can just, once a week, you might be good. Where your significant other, if you allow them, they'll go all 7 days.
Amen. Preach on, preacher.
You know, so you know these are real conversations that should be had between. Oh, they probably out there, you know, but these are real conversations that I think couples should have, and you know, like I said, there are therapists out there, and don't shy away from doing that because it's all about protecting your marriage and protecting your peace in that marriage and being on one accord. So, you know, you guys can both feel satisfied in order to prevent, you know, those negative things.
There are a lot of stores as well. You can go inside. They give you some help.
Holla at Queen, you know.
I got you afterwards.
Queen, you know, she's probably more than me. So holla at Queen. How y'all doing in the audience? How y'all feeling? Have y'all enjoyed yourselves this evening? Queen, shout out to you, man. Round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
sir.
much. Thank you, guys. I mean, we still got some questions. If anybody else?
I actually have 2 questions. They're totally unrelated. But the first question is, what do you think about the statement opposites attract?
I mean, that's a great question. I don't know who made it up, but I think sometimes, opposites can attract. Because, I mean, anything can attract for real, but opposites do attract because there's that intrigue of us being different, you know. We're not the same. So I'm intrigued by how you are, how you see the world, how you think. So I think that can happen. But I heard this from like Love Jones. How many of y'all seen Love Jones? When the brother was like, you know, it's easy to be together, but how do you stay together? And I think the statement talks about coming together. It doesn't address staying together, right? So, I think that's a part that we also have to examine, like, okay, we can come together, but does opposite remain together?
Okay. My second question is, when do you think that pivotal moment is where a woman needs to stop and like really self-reflect and manifest her queen essence?
Ideally, I mean, if you can, you know, as early as you can, that would be ideal, right? But you know, that's not always the case. Not for just women, for brothers as well, for us humans. But I do think, you know, the older we get, you know, the more there is a sense of urgency to, you know, do realize that because, you know, the consequences, you know, probably get bigger and bigger, you know, as we get older. So there is no like set age or whatever. But I mean, I will hope that for all women and even for brothers, for, you know, for us to manifest our king essence as early as we can. We good? There's questions in the back? Okay. All right. Well, I think Queen stepped up. Oh, okay. But yeah, I want to just acknowledge everybody for coming out. You know, this took me 7 years. I didn't know this was going to happen after a while because I even totally forgot about it. But you know, I feel like God really used this pandemic period to really slow me down and help me to complete this, you know. And it's ironic that it took 7 years because, you know, 7 is considered the year of perfection or the number of perfection, you know. I'm truly grateful to all of you all for just coming. I'm thankful and grateful to everybody that has contributed, you know, to this entire process. It means a lot, you know, for people who are watching on the stream, people who did part of the questionnaire. Shout out to one of the young women that we grew up with in this church, Molly. She launched her book 2 years ago. You know, seeing that was very inspirational for me because I knew I had started this journey in 2013, but I just couldn't finish. I just didn't know how to continue. I know I talked to her last year just to maybe my brain can move. It didn't, you know, but I don't know why it took for this year for everything just to click. And I say that to just encourage everybody here or watching, like, you know, set your goals and write it down. If it's not happening right now, it's okay. It doesn't mean it's the end. Like, you truly never know. Like, if you was to ask me about this, even this title was not the title I had. Literally, after I finished writing, I was thinking to myself, this don't even match. So, of course, I called Molly, and we were just brainstorming. She was like, yeah, just keep thinking about it. When you get it, you'll know. That's literally what she told me. And I just kept playing. I'll send her something. I'm like, nah. And when I came to this, I was like, yeah, I got it. So, you know, whatever it is that you're working towards, that you know you're truly passionate about, and that you know you, like, this is really your thing that you want to accomplish. And if it's not working right now, you know, it's okay to pause. You know, we play video games. Sometimes we got to pause. Like, it doesn't mean you're not going to finish or win. I just want to encourage all of you all just with that. But thank you all again. I truly, truly, truly appreciate all of you. Queen, again, thank you. Round of applause. I know my mom, she wants to give away some books. And I want to give away two merchants. Matter of fact, you want to come up here and talk about how you want to give it away, or you want us to do it? You Queen already. Do you have them? All right.
Do you want me to do this?
Or also by show of hands, who would like a copy? Okay.
I got dibs. Just kidding.
Okay. Because I mean, we can just give it to the people that would like a copy. You want one?
Yeah, got you. She also is giving out pens. Are you gonna sign something nice in there? I see you have these pens.
No, I just want
Oh, okay. Here we go.
And as for myself, um, we got people in the back as well, and on the side. As for myself, I want to give away um, 2 clothing items. So I want to ask a question, and Queen, you can, and I'll give a book away as well. Okay, let's see. Or you you want to ask about the, you want to ask a question, Queen? I'm gonna let you do your job. My bad.
Right. A question. So, who remembers where Femi graduated undergrad? Frostburg. So, uno. So, one more question. 2 more questions. So, what was Femi's major prior to psychology? What you say? Wrong. Oh, you got it right. He said engineering. Got it. Engineering. Oh, thank you. Wait, what was your first major, Femi? Oh, okay, okay. Well, second winner. So, third question. Let's see. I have a good one, but I don't think I gave that information. So, we'll just say, how many years has Dr. Fem Dizzle been practicing mental health? We'll go with that, right? Are we going with 7? We have a winner. All right. Thank y'all for participating.
All right. I think I know all 3 of y'all, so I'll begin your stuff. Again, thank you so much. You know, I got books here for whoever want to support. Really appreciate y'all. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year's. God bless. Happy Kwanzaa, all that. I mean, Happy Holidays.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, oh. Hold on. He said, you want to take it? All right. Let me just take this one picture. Thank you so much.
Okay, I appreciate this one. I can't wait to read it.
It's really good.
Are you gonna sign it for me?
Of course.
Okay. Can I have that?
Of course.